Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Vanna Prasad from Galgodias University. Today we will discuss about forensic botany, its significance, forensic science and diatoms examination. First of all, we will discuss about the forensic botany. So, in which we will start with the forensic botany definition. Forensic botany is the field of forensic science which deals with the scientific use of plants, materials in the investigation of criminal cases, legal questions and disputes to ascertain the cause of death or former location. It is also defined as the study of plant life in order to gain information regarding possible crime. Thus, plant materials found at crime scene can often be successfully linked to the perpetrators of the crime or can help to rule out a suspect in a crime. Just as fingerprints are unique to individual, plant materials is often unique to certain ecological areas or plant species. Therefore, it plays an exceptional role in crime scene investigation for reconstruction of forensically relevant events such as in traffic incidents, suicides and homicides. The first court case in which botanical information was admitted as evidence took place in January 1935 when Bruno Hauptmann was tried for kidnapping the baby son of Charles and Anne More Limburg. And it can be subdivided into several botanical subspecialties including plant anatomy, the study of cellular features, plant systematics, the study of taxonomic and species identification, palynology, the study of pollen, plant ecology, plant succession patterns and limnology, the study of freshwater ecology. Thus, plant species identification can help to determine a sample's geographic origin and provides link between a crime scene and suspect, tests alibis and ascertains a crime scene whether it is a primary or secondary scene. The primary crime scene are where a body or criminal event has occurred. The evidence and the body remains at the site, and the secondary crime scene are where, for example, the body was dumped but not where the homicide took place. So, there are the major subdisciplines of forensic botany. These are ecology and limnology. Ecology is the branch of biology that deals with the relation of organisms to one another and to their physical surroundings. Plant ecology includes the distribution of abundance plant in a region, their effects upon environmental factors and interaction among and between plants and other organisms. Thus, ecology is useful for the forensic investigators in determining the relations of victims, crime scene and suspects. The study of the structural and the functional interrelationships of organisms of inland water as they are affected by their dynamic physical, chemical and biotic environment is called limnology. Limnology thus involves the study of both freshwater and saline inland water. Palynology is the branch of botany that deals with the study of pollen grains, their shapes, size, structure, origin, etc. Forensic palynology involves the solving of criminal cases with the help of identification of pollen grains and spores. Pollen grains, being smaller in size, are not seen by the culprit and thus remains at the crime scene, helping the investigator to solve the crime. And pollen grains also help in fixing the location of the crimes, as certain plants are found in particular region and identification of their pollens and spores determine the location of the crime occurred. Pollen grains are thus microscopic and not visually obvious trace of evidence during crime scene. The collection but are retained on clothing, embedded in carpets, preservative in soil, etc. Pollen grains morphology can be used to identify a plant genus and often the species. Crime scene which are restricted to a smaller such as a rape scene are good choices for pollen evidences. Generally, areas have a susceptible pollen distribution pattern representing the combination of plant species found in the surrounding vegetation. Anatomy. The third one is anatomy. The construction of plant body and its components can provide a wide variety of forensic evidences. The rigid external cell wall covering the plant cells, unique unlike the animal cells, does not allow the plant cell to wash away or degenerate easily. The varying percentage of cellulose and lignin making up the cell wall are not digestible by animals except ruminants, termites and a few others arthropods. As far as cellulose is concerned, whereas with lignin it is a somewhat more difficult to digest due to its being more complex structurally and are chemically, which can be broken down only by a few fungi. In addition to this, cells that make up wood have a secondary walls that has much higher percentage of lignin, which adds on to the strength and long life of these cells. Proof of which stands tall with the wooden churches of Norway, which were built during the end of the 11th century and still remain standing and are in use. In forensic science, the identification of wood is done on the basis of the physical and anatomical properties of wood. Physical properties includes color, odor, weight, hardness, luster and texture of the wood sample. Also, the water extract of some timbers show distinct fluorescence, which helps in identifying the unknown wood samples. Fourth one is anatomical properties include whether the pores are present or absent. If present, then the further identification done on determining the pore numbers, pore size and pore arrangement. In forensic work, plant parts specifically adapted for dispersible can be particularly useful, as plant species are each best suited to a particular set of environmental conditions. Not all species grow everywhere. Plant species occur in association or communities, whereas the environmental requirements of several species overlap. Fourth one, anatomical knowledge about species can be useful forensically because a botanist can identify plant fragments found on the clothing of a victim and can determine whether those plants can form the site in which the victim was found or from some other area. Forensic plant biotechnology is another field of forensic botany which deals with the recent few decades has emerged as an exciting area of plant science. Through this technology, various biological manipulation and interpretation can be done. These techniques may be like DNA fingerprinting, DNA barcoding, molecular markers are extensively used these days by investigators to solve the cases. In forensic botany, it is mainly used for species identification and diagnosis of the subject's plant. Unlike the conventional taxonomy, the identification morphological character is limited in forensic investigation. The plant species found as evidences material are in fragment, and in such instance identification of the species with the convention available as a key in any flora becomes difficult. Though DNA barcoding is one option, but it has limited scope in plant science as there is no gene in the plant which can be the barcode, unlike in animal where the mitochondrial cytochrome oxidase has become universal barcode. In these circumstances, one has to depend on the biotechnological tool such as short tandem repeats, which is known as STRs, single nucleotide polymorphism, which is known as SNPs, simple sequence repeats, which is known as SSRS, variable number tandem repeats, which is known as VNTRs, types of and now we will discuss about types of botanical evidences and their location at the crime scene. These are pollen, leaves, branches, fruit, seeds, etc. At primary crime scene, location of botanical evidences can be in, on or around the body. Some examples include leaves on the back of an victim, algae in the mouth of a victim, or pollen grains inhaled by the victim and lodged in the nasal cavity. So, in the second case, which is secondary crime scene, location of botanical evidences such as leaves, branches, fruits, seeds and pollen can be associated with a body caught in under the carriage of an automobile or related in the stolen electronic equipment that can be provide a link back to the primary scene. So now we will discuss about the collection of botanical evidences. The collection of botanical evidences can be done by on the basis of plant fragments such as seeds, flowers and fruits should all be performed by hand. Second, botanical evidences should be collected in paper, not in plastic. Plant matter in stomach content would most likely be collected during autopsy by the medical examiner. Fecal matter and later possible plant identification, the sample should be kept moist. In case of fresh deposit, the sample should be stored in a glass or plastic. The dried feces or solid clothing can be placed in a paper bags and sealed. For microscopic analysis for plant identification, a 10% formalin solution should be used as a preservative. Now we will discuss our forensic significance of botanical evidences. First of all, we discuss about pollen grains. Pollen is a powdery biological material containing microgametophytes of higher plants released by anther in large volumes. It is released by different plants at different times of the year, and pollen can survive for many years. Pollen evidence can be an important clue in determining a crime's location and its time of occurrence. It can even unlock murders of the past, and scientists who study pollen and are called as paleontologists. They are considered as one of the important botanical evidences because of the following reasons. Because they are light and easily transported by wind. They can usually be traced on clothes, hair or skin. Being prevalent in the air, may be breathed into the lungs. They decompose slowly. They can be retrieved from millions of year old rocks. Being microscopic, remains unseen as silent witnesses, and even if visible, unlike fingerprints, it's nearly impossible to do away with them from a crime scene. Like spores, exene of pollen grains of each plant possesses unique characteristics, and this signature can link an individual or object to a specific location. Pollen signatures may also further indicate that a body has been moved or suggested the locality where the original crime took place. Second, the wood variety of wood have wood grains and knots can also act like a fingerprint in the solving of crime. In a case study in 1935, the Bruno Richard Haptemann for the 1932 murder of the Lindbergh baby, it was the wood of a ladder that led to the conviction. The study of tree rings for forensic purpose is known as dendrochronology. Second, next we will learn about leaves. The leaf shape of a can lead to its being identified, but the type of tree a leaf comes from isn't the limit to its usefulness. In some instances, DNA analysis can be established a leaf associated with a criminal suspect comes from a specific tree at the scene of a crime. It is of special interest that not only fresh but dried leaves can be used in forensic biology for DNA evaluation. Seeds, the forensic importance of seeds. In case study in May 1992, a dead woman was found in an Arizona desert near a Palona verde tree that had a fresh abrasion on it. Later, a suspect was found who had a seed pod from a Palona verde tree found in its trunk. RAPD, which is known as Rapid Amplified Polymorphic DNA analysis, revealed that the seeds in the trunk were almost certainly from the identical tree associated with the victim. Conviction was obtained. So then let's talk about trees and roots. Let's talk about trees and roots. Trees and roots are useful for determining elapsed time since death. time since a body was placed at a given location or the season in which a death occurred. Because woody plants and trees grow in annual cycles that vary with environmental conditions. Growth rings can be counted to provide the timing of an event. Sometimes centuries later, even partial damage to root growth can suggest the period since an interpretation occurred. Now we will discuss about the aquatic species. Aquatic species can also be helpful. For example, algae and diatoms can be used to diagnose death by drowning in fresh water. To establish drowning, botanists identify the number and the species of diatoms present in the lungs and other tissues and correlate them with the flora from the location the individual was found. Because algae and diatoms vary seasonally, their abundances and diversity in an area can also approximate time since death or generate a signature of an aquatic habitat that can match a body to a given location. So, we will discuss about how botanical evidences are useful. Botanical evidences are helpful in the following ways. First, identifying clandestine graves. Botanical evidence can be used to identify clandestine grave whenever a grave is dug and filled in following inevitable events occur. Ground is disturbed, existing vegetation is destroyed, quick invasion, recolonization occurs of plants takes place, plants occupy grave site in an identifiable succession pattern from the neighboring undisturbed vegetation, or the presence of a buried body may chemically change the nature of the soil, which may either promote or inhibit the growth of the plant in vicinity. It may be either way. The distributed area will be at different stage than its surroundings. These differences may be visible for decades. Forensic botanists can help to identify areas by studying this succession on distributed ground, because the composition and the distribution of the new colonies can never be exactly similar to the original community. However, it is not necessary that all the succession on disturbed soil point towards a clandestine grave beneath. Now we will discuss about estimating time elapsed since death. Aquatic plant species like algae and diatoms can also be helpful in diagnosing death by drowning in fresh water. To confirm death by drowning, botanists identify both the number and the species of diatoms present in the lungs and other tissues and link them with the flora of the location where the body was found. As algae and diatoms vary seasonally, so they can be provide information regarding the approximate time elapsed since death, which is known as the time between the death and discovery of body. By their abundance and diversity in an area where the body was found, trees and roots are useful for determining the time elapsed since death. Annual growth rings of the woody plants of particular areas can be counted to provide the timing of an event. Sometimes even centuries later, even partial damage to root growth can suggest the period since an incident occurred. Now we will discuss about the limitation of forensic botany. Despite many benefits of forensic botany, it has certain limitations. These may be because pollen is so common and diverse in our surroundings, it is usually not easy to associate it with a particular area. Second, moreover, it shall be properly ensured that the buried evidence is free from any sort of fresh pollen at the scene. Third, if the evidence is not protected, it is impossible to determine whether the pollen was there at the time of death or not. Fourth, if already during burial a body is roofed by certain original vegetation, the latter would appear older than the body below. On the other hand, if the plant growth is delayed by the decomposition process, it may look younger. So it becomes difficult to collaborate between the two. Fifth one, care should be taken by the botanists to collect documents and preserve their evidence to make certain their interpretation are valid and admissible as evidences in court. Now we will discuss about the diatoms. Diatoms, first of all, we should know about what is diatom. Diatoms are photosynthesizing algae. They have a siliceous skeleton crustal and are found in almost every aquatic environment, including freshwater, marine water, or maybe it may be soil, in fact almost anywhere moist. They may be simple or branched, filamentous, and even enveloped in a gelatinous envelope or tube. All diatoms are enclosed by a frustale that is made up of two walls fitted together by a connective zone called a girdle. They are non-motile or capable of only limited movement along a substance by a secretion of mucilaginous material along a slit-like groove or channel called a reef. Now we will discuss about the analysis of diatoms present in the body tissues like lungs, liver, spleen, blood and bone marrow has been undertaken as supported evidence in drowning cases. The theory behind the diatom test is that when any person drowns, the diatoms present in that water will reach to their lungs, and some of them, because of their size, penetrate into the alveoli. If the heart is still breathing, the diatoms that have entered in the blood stream travel around the body and may lodge in distant organs such as kidney, brain and bones, or maybe bone marrow before death. The presence of diatoms in the internal organ must likely confirm the ante-mortem drowning. If there is any doubt about the drowning site, the water sample from the putative site of drowning can be collected and analyzed to determine the similarities of different species of diatoms in the water and the body. Now we will discuss about the habitat of diatoms. Diatoms are ubiquitous to aquatic environments and consistently have been found in a wide variety of habitats. These range from oceans, lakes, ponds, marshes, rivers, streams and ditches. Dense cell walls cause them to readily sink. Planktonic forms in open water usually rely on turbulent mixing of the upper layers by wind to keep them suspended in the sunlit surface water. Individual species are often quite specific with their ecological requirements and display particular sensitivity to parameters such as pH, moisture content, salinity and nutrient status. Living diatoms are often found clinging in great numbers to filamentous algae or forming gelatinous masses on various submerged plants. Caladophore is a type of algae which is frequently covered with the coconeous and elliptical shaped diatoms. Vautieria is often covered with the small forms. Diatoms are frequently present as stones and sticks and may be seen to streams with river currents. And now we will discuss about classification of diatoms. Diatoms are formally classified as belonging to the division of Chrysophycophyta, class Bacillophyceae. The diatoms are divided into two orders. The centrals, now called the Bidophylaceae, which have walls striae arranged basically in relation to a point, and annuals or ecentral alveoli, and tends to appear readily symmetrical. The penniles or bacillariales, which have walls striae arranged in relation to a line and tends to appear bilaterally symmetrically. Their silica-based silicon do not readily decay and they can sometimes be detected even in heavily decomposed bodies. We will discuss about the extraction method. First we will discuss about acid digestion method. The acid digestion method for diatoms extraction accepted worldwide. It is easy to perform and gives good result for dissolving tissues. samples. First of all, we discuss about nitric acid method, which involves some steps. First step is samples are collected from the suspect drowning victim. Care should be taken as to not contaminate the samples with foreign diatoms during the process. Second, intact femurs, for example, are removed at autopsy and washed in distilled water. Femur are longitudinally sectioned using a clean band saw, and the bone marrow, about 50 gram, is removed using a clean spatula and placed into a boiling flask. Third, approximately 50 ml of concentrated nitric acid is added to the flask and the marrow acid suspension is boiled on a hot plate for approximately 48 hours under a fume hood. Fourth, the suspension is then cooled and centrifuged in some instance to separate times, with the supernatant discarded and the resulting acid resistant material dropped onto a clean microscope for microscopic studies, and the sediment is examined under the microscope. A remarkable collection of most delicate and beautiful skeletons of diatoms is seen in cases of death from drowning. In favorable circumstances, even the site of drowning can be determined, since the freshwater and the seawater diatoms are different, and the seawater plants even vary from place to place along the coast. Now we will discuss about the sulfuric acid method. The steps involved in sulfuric acid method test. Let these samples settle down completely, then discard the supernatant, then add concentrated sulfuric acid until the volume is twice that of the original sample. Third phase, add potassium bichromate. Just add enough bichromate to make for a saturated solution. Fourth, let stand for 24 hours or more, or speed up the reaction in a water bath up to 60 degrees Celsius. Even so, it may take several hours before the sample is clean. The sediment should look grayish and no plant fragments etc. should be remain. Fifth, let settle completely, discard supernatant and rinse several times as described above. Now we will discuss about to examine the morphology of diatoms. In order to examine the morphology of diatoms, both transmission and scanning electron microscopes are able to provide a much more detailed images. First, we will discuss about the transmission electron microscopy, which is also known as TEM. This type of microscopy is best able to see the finer, delicate details of the diatoms. Fustels, even in the fustel, is not heavily silicified. Next, we will discuss about the scanning electron microscopic, which is also known as SEM. SEM is best suited for visualizing the entire diatom fustels. It is a tool that can aid in viewing the gross morphology of diatoms, which may be both internal and external parts. That's all for the today's lecture. The outcomes of this lecture is that the forensic botany, or we can say the botanical evidences, are useful for knowing the crime scene, or which will relate the crime scene with a primary crime scene and a secondary crime scene, and which can we can identify or we can investigate a crime scene with a botanical evidences. And in the session in which we have discussed about the diatoms can link the crime scene of drowning, which can suspect the culprit, and it can help the forensic investigator for the investigation of forensic science. So which will help for the forensic signification, and it will be a good evidences, we can say, both the forensic botany as well as forensic diatoms. Thank you.